Hello and welcome to Byju's IAS. Let's get started and look into our daily quiz. Let's look into the first question. Which of the following languages have been accorded the status of classical language? Kannada, Gujarati, Odia, Sanskrit, Tamil. The answer to this is 1, 3, 4 and 5. Why? That is because Gujarati is not accorded the status of classical language. Why have we taken this practice question? Because of the reference given in this article in reference to Odia. What is this classical language status? Let's say for example, there is one of the languages. This particular language has a long history. It has been in existence for nearly 1000 to 1500 years. It has been in existence where number of people have contributed to this particular language growth. There has been repository of knowledge and there have been great contributions made by the poets and speakers of this particular language, and it has also has a great knowledge base when it comes to this particular language. This knowledge base is not the one which is imported from another language, that which has been born out of this particular language. When such criteria is fulfilled by a particular language, that language will be awarded what is called as the classical languages of India. So basically, this should have extraordinary antiquity of its early transcripts, verified history for over 1500 to 2000 years, a body of ancient literature or text which is considered valuable heritage of generation of speakers. The literary tradition should be something of unique in nature, not hired from another language community. When all these aspects are met by a particular language, it will be awarded classical language. When it comes to India, we have 6 classical languages. Which are those? 1. Tamil. Next, it was followed by Sanskrit. Then we have Kannada and Telugu, which was awarded this status in 2008, followed by Malayalam, and finally we have Odia as a language, which was accorded the classical language status. Now let's look into the next practice question. Paika Rebellion, an armed revolt against the British, was a freedom movement against the exploitation, discrimination and atrocities of British which took place in Assam, a valiant uprising of soldiers which took place in Khurda of Odisha, a peasant revolt against the colonial government which took place in Kerala, a rebellion in eastern India against both the British colonial authority and zamindari system by the Santal people. Which of this correctly describes what is the Paika rebellion? The answer to this is a valiant uprising of soldiers which took place in Kurd of Odisha. So the answer to this is B. Why have we taken this practice question? Because of the reference given in the PIB article. What is it about Paika rebellion? We have what is called as the kingdom of Kurda. In the kingdom of Kurda, there were soldiers. These soldiers are called as the Paika. So a Paika literally translates to a warrior or a fighter in Odia. What exactly happened in Odisha back then? Back then we had the kingdom of Kurda. This kingdom of Kurda was protected by the fighters. Since they were the warrior clan, the kings in this particular region also donated lands to the Paikas or the warrior community. But then what we had was the British rule. The British were not happy because these Paikas had huge swathes of land. They started interfering with their affairs. This is when they started charging exorbitant tax rates as well, and at the same time they did not let them even collect the salt from the seawater, which also gave huge dissatisfaction to the Paikas. So on one side, they started interfering with their land management, which was given by the kingdom, that is by the king of Kurda, to these Paikas or the fighters, and at the same time, they did not let that particular kingdom to extract salt from the seawater. This is where there was growing animosity between the British as well as the Paika. This ultimately resulted in a skirmish. This resulted in a battle between the Paikas as well as the British. That war, which was fought between the Paika and the British, is what is called as Paika Rebellion. So Paika Rebellion are those fighters who fought against the British in the region of Odisha. That is why it is called as Paika Rebellion. Now let's look into the next practice question. Which of the following statements is or correct? A neutrino is a subatomic particle that is very similar to an electron and it has a negative charge. The proposed India-based neutrino observatory will be located in West Podi Hills in Theni district of Kerala. Which of the statements are correct? The answer to this is none. Why? That is because when you look into the neutrino, yes, it is a subatomic particle. Yes, it is very similar to that of an electron, but when it comes to its character, when we look at what positive charge or the negative charge it possesses, it does not possess anything as it is electrically neutral. These are not affected by the electromagnetic forces which act on the electrons. Since it is electrically neutral, it is not negative. That is why the first option is wrong. The proposed India-based neutrino observatory, yes, it is located in West Bodhi Hills. Yes, it is in Theni district, but this is not in the state of Kerala, but instead it is in the state of Tamil Nadu. Since both the options given here are not correct, the answer to this is none. Why have we taken this practice question? Because of the reference given in this PIB article. So when it comes to India Neutrino Observatory, where is it? It is present in the Bodhi West Hills, Theni district, and it is located in the state of Tamil Nadu. The Indian Neutrino based observatory has been granted the permission, and this particular project is supported both by the Department of Science and Technology and the Department of Atomic Energy, which jointly support this particular project. Now let's look into the next practice question. India's forex reserves include which of the following? Foreign currency assets, gold reserves, special drawing rights. The answer to this is 1, 2 and 3. Why have we taken this practice question? Because of the reference given in the Hindu article. What is this forex reserve? This is nothing but the currency or the money or the reserve of the foreign currencies that is held by a particular central bank. When it comes to India, it is the Reserve Bank of India which will hold all these foreign currency. This is mostly dominated by the dollars, but it can also include non-dollar items as well, which includes euro, pound, yen, which can also be the foreign exchange reserves. Apart from these foreign exchange reserves, which is the currency which can be dollar and non-dollar, there can also be gold items as well, and at the same time there can also be IMF reserve positions as well as special drawing rights. So when it comes to the forex reserve, they are four in nature. One is what we call as the foreign currency assets, which includes both dollar as well as the non-dollar. Then what we have is the gold reserves. Then what we have is the IMF positions, and finally the special drawing rights which has been accorded to a particular country. All of this become the part of the forex reserves. Now let's look into the next practice question. What is the difference between asteroids and comets? Asteroids are small rocky planetoids, while comets are formed of frozen gases held together by rocky and metallic material. Asteroids are found mostly between the orbits of Jupiter and Mars, while comets are found mostly between Venus and Mercury. Comets show a perceptible glowing tail, while asteroids do not. Which of the statements given above is correct? The answer to this is 1 and 3. So kindly remember, when it comes to comets, they are nothing but the cosmic snowballs of frozen gases, rock and dust that orbit the sun. So they need not be necessarily close by to the Venus or the Mars. The minute they start approaching the sun closer by, that is when these frozen gases tend to interact with the heat of the sun, and that results in the glorious tail-like conditions. This is what we have to understand in reference to this practice question. Now let's look into the fact of the day. The fact of the day that we would be discussing is about Periyar E.V. Ramaswamy. Why are we discussing this? Because the Hindu article makes a mention of Periyar E.V. Ramaswamy. What are the important contributions made by E.V. Ramaswamy? We have E.V. Ramaswamy, who is called as Periyar. In Tamil, Periyar means respected one or the elder. He is also popularly referred to as Tantai Periyar. It is he who started one of the movements called as the self-respect movement. What is this self-respect movement? When you look at the historical past of India, what you actually see that the society was fabricated, divided, segregated and completely compartmentalized into what is called as the caste system. This caste system had certain castes which were treated as untouchables. There were certain castes which did not have equality. They were being discriminated and they had to face inhuman conditions when it comes to the caste system that was perpetuated back in the Indian society. Some so-called castes were called as high caste. Some so-called castes were called as lower caste. So this self-respect movement is about telling those people who are organized as so-called lower caste to respect their own caste, express their own apprehensions, and move against this whole caste system. So this self-respect movement was fighting against this division that was existing in the system in the form of higher caste or the lower caste. What about this self-respect system? What does it work on? This basically started working on division of caste that was perpetuated by the Indian society had to be completely eliminated. And at the same time, there were women rights which also had to be respected, and every single caste that was present in the society, they had to get the education so that they can support equality in the society. So basically, this had the three agendas. One, to remove the caste system, annihilation of the caste. Two, it wanted to educate the women. Women should be seen equal to the men, and the patriarchal forces should be completely decimated. And at the same time, the third is about education of the classes. So when we speak about education, there were certain sections of the society which had consolidated education as something which their caste had to do, had to study, and had to practice. This has to be done away with so that every single person had the access to education. Apart from this, Periyar E.V. Ramaswamy also wanted to revitalize the southern Indian or the Dravidian languages. This included Tamil, this included Telugu, Malayalam, as well as Kannada. So all these languages had to be revitalized was one of the other agendas of Periyar E.V. Ramaswamy. He had participated in non-violent satyagraha in Vaikam in Kerala. He was the head of the Justice Party, which was changed to eventually Dravida Kalagam in 1944, and later this particular party was split, one group led by Annadurai forming the Dravida Munnetra Kalagam. It is this that we have to understand in reference to this article. So this is it for today. Thank you for watching. All the best.